Alright, am I awake? No, but is the Kefka finals game match the third thing happening? Yes. We're up to normal rules, level 10, open. Uh, they split 1-1 on the original rule set, and now this is the decider. I'm going to assume there wasn't a center starter, so let's say Turdz started in 9. The card, he had a nice same walls or plus walls in 6 and 8. That makes a lot of sense. Delial replied in 7 saying, I have 4 and you do not. And Turdz went, that ain't fair. I'm going to give myself 4. My analysis on those moves won't be any deeper without having been there at the time they were played. So let's give that as the basic reasoning and move on. Deli is fairly likely to block 8 here. That is the natural square to go, but there's actually a lot of games between Deli and Turdz with this kind of 1-3-5 type structure. And I would note they've had a bunch of decisive results out of games like this, and that players have not reliably gone in 8. In one of my best games videos, or in one that I'm preparing to put out, or at least I considered a game for one, where Turdz was second turn in this type of structure and he went 4, and Deli found a win in 3 in reply. Cards in the exact same squares, actually. And Deli goes 4. Now, why might you go 4? Well, if you have combo potential, then it can be hard for the other person to occupy 8. So Turdz cannot safely play an 8 without being comboed through. But of course, this is potentially pretty high risk because Turdz has a combo back in 2. Can Deli combo back if Turdz combos in 2? Not necessarily. So the first thing I would consider here is Chocobo Chicken 8. Because if Deli should play Shadow in 6, comboing, Turdz has Bosch in 2, comboing back, and I think Turdz wins there. Yeah. So I don't think Deli can take the combo immediately. If he can't take the combo immediately, can he set up a second combo threat square? He can. So his intent might be Arania in 2. Arania 2. Where Shadow has both, Arania 1 I meant, where Shadow has both squares. If he plays Arania 1, that looks very good. One thing Deli could do is play 8-5-A5 in 6, so that when, Turdz could do is 8-5-A5 in 6, such that when Deli lands Shadow in 2, Turdz can play Bosch in 3, capturing Shadow in 2, and comboing 8-5-A5 in 6 to recapture 8-9-6-5 and 9. But I think that ends up with just 4 cards, right? 4 cards loses. Because the score is currently 5-5, he'll be up 6-4. He'll go there. Deli will quadruple flip. I feel like I'm counting wrong. Sorry, this is very early. For me, meaning it's like noon. But there. Why can't I count? No, Deli flips 5 things, he'd be up 9-1. You lose 6-4 there. So if you can't occupy 8, what can you do? Well, maybe you can get rid of 1. Maybe you can get rid of 1. Maybe we learned 1 is the key square. This looks incredibly dangerous. I think there is a very good chance Deli has won because 8 is met by 1. But I think that means you have to remove. 6 is really hard to remove, but I feel like you have to remove 1, 8, or 6. You don't have a setup in 3 yourself. Is 2 possible? Only if you set up a threat in 1, I think. But maybe, actually. 8, 5, A5, and 2 is kind of interesting, because if Deli wants to occupy 1, he can't do so cleanly. I don't have enough time to check that. Turdz goes for 8, and I think it's over. I think Deli has 9, 7, 1A, and 1. And unless I'm miscounting, which is very likely, but if I'm not miscounting, I think 9, 7, 1A, and 1 is game. So let's look in a little more depth. 9, 7, 1A, and 1. If Turdz puts anything in 2, Deli is gonna play 6. And Deli will have locked in 4, 5, 7, 8, 9. Which is 5 cards on the board, and then 1 card in hand, Deli wins. If Turdz goes 3, with 8, 5, A5, Deli plays the combo in 2, and Bosch only flips back 5 and 9, so he loses. Yeah, Deli's picked it up. I think 8, 5, A5, 6 is the closest move to holding a tie. If Bosch was weak to 9, there could be a really sneaky win here for Turdz, where you play Bosch in 6, because if they play Shadow in 2, you then have A5, A5, and Bosch. You could combo through Bosch to flip 5, which would flip the whole chain. But you don't have the combo here. I'm going to pull open the solver, but I think Deli has just won his 8th tournament, which is a remarkable feat. He will be, if he wins this, the all-time leader. He will also be by far the all-time leader in most distinct types of tournaments won. And he should be immensely proud of himself. Turdz has also had a just phenomenal run to get here. Yeah, really well done to both players. I do think this is it. What were the cards? 8, 9, 6, 5, 7, 8, 9, 5, A7, 5, 7, 5, 6, 8A, 8, 5, A5. And for Deli, A7, 5, 7, 8, 4, 8, 2, 8, 9, 6, 5, 9, 7, 1A, and 8, 6, 7, 7 will deliver the final blow. Yep, he does go in 1. Okay, let's open the solver. It's hard for me to do the whole excited thing when I'm not awake. But it's so close. Like, Bosch in 6 is so close. If Bosch in 6 could, for half a turn, be like 4, 6, 7A. If Bosch was 4, 6, 7A, this is a... No, because he needs a 5 facing up. So 5, 6, 7A just needs to be for just a moment. Now, of course, if it was 5, 6, 7A, Deli goes in 6, not 2. So it doesn't quite... not 1. So it doesn't quite work. But if Deli has gone in 1 and we can transform Bosch this turn, Bosch in 6 is, I guess, not a win, because 8, 9, 6, 5, and 3 would tie there, but is very close to 1. Okay, so we have 9, 7. After 9, 7, 5, there are a bunch of ties. Okay, now, did I put in the rules right? This might be a very messy finals game. I do have the rules right. Yeah, you take your time here. You gotta make peace with things. But oh, I did put in the cards wrong, not the rules. 971A, not 961A. Cool. Let's try again. You can't always put things in, right? Okay. So 8965 in 9, A757 in 7. He does play 8585 and 3. Bosch has 2, but not 6. Okay. This seems like it was a mistakey final game. But we'll get to that in a moment. So 5 was played. And Deli went for this move in 4. And there is one tie. I put in the cards wrong again. Okay, so ignore all that. Why did I say A757 was played twice? Yeah, Turdz did not have A757. Turdz had 368A. Okay, hopefully not a mistakey final game. I don't want it to be a mistakey final game. I want it to be a beautiful and perfect final game. Okay. So 89659, A7577, 78955. Okay. A4, A24. A4, A24 was winning and the only win. And A4, A24, Turdz did not have an escape by the time we opened it. Deli's combo potential was too strong. If Turdz goes 8, indeed, Deli has 971A and 1, but there was no defense here. Deli did find the winning blow. Very nicely done. High risk move in 5 did not pay off this game. Now, I was talking to Vid once, and specifically about a game he had actually lost to Deli, where he had liked the position he got because it had high winning chances, right? Because his aim against Deli, and his aim in general, is to create positions with high winning chances. And I think moves in 5 are very swingy both ways. Here it was to give Turdz a square he didn't have. I'm going to call this Finals Part 2, Level 10, SPSW PWRC. Turdz, 3-7, Delial. And the game went, presumably, 8-9-6-5-9, A7-5-7-7, 7-8-9-5-5. We'll do a bit of talking after, but I want to finish discussing the game first. 3-6-8-8-8, 9-7-1-8-1. There was no defense. 8-5-8-5-3, 8-6-7-7-2, 5-6-8-8-6, and 8-9-6-5 remaining. With hands of 8-9-6-5, 7-8-9-5, 3-6-8-A, 8-5-A-5, 5-6-8-A versus A7-5-7, 8-4-8-2, 9-7-1-A, 8-6-7-7, and 8-9-6-5. Okay. Were there any mistakes made? It kept saying there were mistakes made when I had the cards wrong. Still calculating there on move 1 or move 2, but it kept saying that Turdz should have won by going in 8 instead of 5. And now it's identifying that 8 instead of 5 was a tie. But I think something like, um, say, Chocobo Chicken 8 would have been a better chance. Yeah, actually, if we flip over on the solver there, just to spend a second analyzing the game because I missed the early part. Let's flip over to the solver. This position is actually really dangerous for Deli. Um, if you go here, which looks fairly safe, um, Turdz has multiple winning moves, but essentially he can just take because you have no card that fits in 4 without being susceptible to combos. And so there's nothing you can do in 6. In 5, you only have these 3 cards with high numbers facing down, but this one walks into a combo in 4. I'm not sure if Deli should take it immediately because Turdz because you have both 2 and 4. So there is a case for just playing somewhere else. Where does the solver say you should go? Yeah, go 6 or 3, but you can also just take the same in 4. All of them win. And so actually there's only one tying move. Now, it's not the subtlest move on the planet, but any position with one tying move, there's a chance that someone's brain just goes haywire and they can't find it. And after, say, a move like this, there's 2 ties. And I'm sure there's, other things that apply decent pressure. This one loses. This one just loses. This, but apparently also to this because there's a funny plus in 2. That's cute. Anyway, so this would have been, I think, what's this card look? 1 tie. The only tie is here. That's findable though. And anything should be findable with 4 moves left. The point is, I think blocking 8, even though it looks like you have kind of weak numbers facing out, Deli actually has a really hard time attacking them. And I think this would have been the way. But Turdz gives himself play in every square, but the problem is he can no longer occupy 8. Deli correctly sets it up, finding the only win in the position with a you cannot go in 8 yourself. Anything you put in 8 is weak to 5. And this is really hard to calculate out because at distance it looks like Turdz might have that combo back in 2, which is what I was initially on, is Turdz has 2. And you have no combo back against 2. But it turns out you don't need the combo back against 2 because you're going to set up 2 yourself, and you have both 2 and 6, and they don't have and cannot set up both squares. They also cannot get rid of both squares, and they can't quite flip back enough in this line. Alright, neat game. Beautifully played by Deli to convert the win. And congrats to our winner and finalist. So let's take a quick jaunt over. Let's go back here. Let's take a jaunt over to the good old leaderboard. I don't think I've updated it for Kefka at all. I'll have to check. But Deli will be surely rising on my Hall of Fame stat, having just won 2 out of 3 tournaments, which is nuts. But I actually want to focus on the other categories. So let's let this load. Weird that it flashed. No, that's not the page I wanted. I want this one. That's the one that just counts stuff. Most wins. Deli is already in first and will extend his lead, one of only 2 players with 100 tournament wins. Most championships, there's been a 3-way tie for first. Deli was actually the 3rd player to reach 7, but he is the first and only player to reach 8 wins. I remember a time back in 2010, 11, when we were all racing to be the first person with 4 championships. Deli is now on 8. Also note, Turdz would have become the 5th player ever to reach 4, and there's still a very good chance he becomes the 5th player to get there. For finals, Deli moves up to 9, joining a tie for 2nd, and Turdz moves up to 6, joining a tie with Nightwish and Slash of Time for 5th through 7th. For semifinals, Delial moves into a tie with Seto for 2nd, gets past me, and Turdz moves into clear 5th with 11. For icons, Turdz goes to 16, tying Vid and Smokes, and Deli extends his lead, which is just going to be untouchable. Where else do we want to go? Distinct Tourneys 1. Now, this one's fun because if you think, how many tournament types are there? There's Triad Wars, there's SEs, Open SEs. Now, Open SEs and Triad Wars you could call the same thing, but Deli has won both, and most of the people on this list with wins of different types have won one of each of those. There's TTAC, which is obviously very different. So those are the big three. And like myself, those are the three I've won. But then there are closed SEs. Deli has won one of those. There are Team Rhinoas. Deli has won one of those. Yojimbo has also won one of those. That's how Yojimbo's on 4. Yojimbo doesn't have the closed SE. But now we have these tour finals tournaments with random involved. And that is another type of tournament. And Deli now has won 6 different types of tournament with second place on 4. For total achievement, which is 1,000 points for each title, 500 points for each finals, 250 for each semifinals, and 125 for each quarterfinals, Turdz stays clear 5th all time, but extends his lead over the field on having done the 5th most total of any player. And Deli moves within a hair's breadth of Yojimbo, a semifinals and quarterfinals away from catching Yojimbo for having achieved the most. Now, you might say Deli's won the most tournaments, and that's the most, and he has the most icons, but Yojimbo has, enough more finals that it does add up for a slightly higher score for Yojimbo, but Delial will likely be passing him in the near future, which is remarkable given how much Yojimbo ran up in that 2012 to 15 period. This also means Deli's. I don't have pure finals win rate. Do I have pure finals win rate? I'm sure that's somewhere. Deli surely extends his lead and wins versus winners over the field. He won't change his win rate here, but he will. Well, I'm not sure what else will affect, but that's a whole lot of things to affect. And the big one is, of course, the first and only player in Triple Triad history to have won 8 championships. The first to 1 championship was, of course, Kaus Debonair winning the first tournament. The first to 2 championships, both Doc Evil and Cookie got there quickly. I think Doc Evil got there first. The first to 3 championships was between Seto and Delial, and I think Seto got there first. The first to 4 was me. And then the first to all of 5, 6, and 7 was Yojimbo. And now Deli comes back and is the first to 8. And yeah, huge congratulations. And also, great job to Turdz, who just keeps putting in fantastic results. Having to beat Seto and Delial in a row is just ridiculous. And to be fair, he did win 3 games in a row against them. And there was a timeout win that was basically a 4th win for him, which is just absurd. So, yeah. There we go. I guess that's it. Thus ends SE Kefka. I'm now going to start updating the leaderboard because I haven't done so yet. And if you go check out the leaderboard, you can see such wondrous results as we scrolled past here. Alright. Congratulations to both players and the semifinalists. What an incredible semifinals. I know I talked about it before, but these 4 players were, if not the best semifinals we've ever had, very much in the conversation and about on par with any semifinals we've ever had. And yeah, Turdz makes it there. We do not get Delto Bowl once again. Delto Bowl does not come to be in brackets where I think many people may have predicted Delto Bowl. I think I won this bracket prediction wise, which is totally unimportant note to end on. So very important. But I think that's kind of unfair, right? Because people may have picked me and I ended up withdrawing. And not that I would have beaten Deli, but it would have been a tough match, right? And so I may have ruined a bunch of people's brackets, but that is okay with me. Again, huge congrats to Deli. I think in his current form, he's better than me. So not that I don't have a chance there, but like he's playing great, and really, what I like about his tournament too is I think he improved throughout the tournament. I think as the tournament started, he was making a whole bunch of mistakes. We could see that in his messy round versus Cliffy, but also losing the CVC versus Metis. I think Metis outplayed him. Metis beat him in the last tournament in Ultimisia, and I think outplayed him there, though that was just a very good match. But I think since his loss to Metis and Ultimisia, Deli played a bunch of messy results and a bunch of games that were below his standards. And entering the semifinals and finals, I didn't know. I kind of thought actually Akiyama was going to beat him at that point, and that is not what happened at all. Deli went from playing kind of messy to playing just perfect triple triad. And he plays fantastically in the semifinals, and I think perfectly there, and then comes into the finals where he loses a game, but notably, the only way Delial lost in the finals here was playing perfectly, was when his hand was an automatic loss. So Deli plays absolutely perfectly in long matches in the semifinals and finals, and goes on to win both without a single error. Delial has now played in 9 finals, right? If you look at this finals tab, 9 finals. He has won 8 of them. Notably, he has only lost one single game in Open in a finals, and it was when his hand was an auto loss. He has won all 7 of his prior Open finals. He won against Turdz Open in the SC Cosmos finals and lost twice in closed. Here, he did lose once in Open. Turdz is the first player. Turdz is both the first player to ever beat Deli in a finals, and is now the first player to ever beat Deli in Open in a finals. But Deli had no chance not to lose. Now, the hand wasn't. There are some hands where it's like you lose, and it looks like a loss the whole way. This one, it's losing, and it doesn't look like a loss, which is to say, Turdz deserves a lot of credit for that win, because I think that was not a trivial game to convert. I think Turdz had to play really nicely to win that one. But, so Turdz, the only person to ever take games off Deli in a finals, as far as I know. I don't know what happened in the TTAC 12 finals. Whatever TTAC Deli won, it is possible someone took a game off him there, but we don't have the records of that. Is that versus Yojimbo? I think that was versus Yojimbo. I'd be curious if Deli remembers what happened there, because it's possible Yojimbo took a game off him or took an Open game off him, right? I don't have the record there. But as far as we have records of, Turdz is the first and only player to win games against Deli in the finals and to win games against Deli in Open. So we just have this wonderful trajectory for Deli of entering the tournament. He is not in good form. He is not playing well. And by the end of the tournament, he is only beatable if his opponent plays absolutely perfectly and he gets a random that's an auto loss. So really nice trajectory for him. And also, Turdz just played so well. Let's end on Turdz. If you look at the bracket, I think Turdz had one of the toughest brackets to handle. In the first round, he gets a bye. But in the second round, he has to face Sir Smokes, who is always just a really tricky player on random formats. Incredibly good instincts for where to go. Then he beats Seto in a very long, very well played match, and then he has Delial in the finals. Like this is a 3-winner, very difficult road. Okay, that is SE Kefka, and we will return someday soon with Triad Wars 16. We've had Triad Wars 14 and 15 since the return. Yeah. Triad Wars 15, Akiyama was supposed to finals, and he didn't because he had finaled like the last few Triad Wars in a row. So we'll see if he can return to his lose in the finals in every Triad Wars ways. It's an interesting bracket. It's one of the first like somewhat seeded brackets we've ever had, which might lead to easier paths for prior deep runs. But if you look at the bracket at this point, the fields are small and strong enough that it's very difficult fields for anyone, I think. Yeah, so we'll stop there. I like that they went to full rules for this final game. It meant you could have a more balanced and fair feeling effort than just whoever got screwed by randoms. But actually, as the players said, they actually had a lot of fun playing the first games. They thought it was a fun rule set. Just felt too hand dependent, but the games themselves were fun and interesting and complex. And that's very much the feelings I got watching them as well. Is this is rough because essentially any rule set where if you have some advantage, you have no chance to outplay them by enough to win. It really needs to be a very, very big advantage. Is going to be too random dependent and too little like player outplays the other one dependent for a win. But that doesn't mean the games themselves can't be interesting and complex. And they also clearly felt a lot scarier to play than the solver would say they were compared to other historical games. So I think the games themselves, really interesting, fun stuff, and nice that it wasn't decided by that. Okay, I've tried to wrap up like 4 times. This time was the one.